As we approach the end of the year, I think it's very important for me to talk about what I'm about to talk about right now. Because a lot of us are going to be doing some assessment. At the end of the year, a lot of us get very reflective. And this reflection can lead to some amount of sadness. Some of it can lead to some amount of joy. Some of it can lead to some amount of gratitude. But then, today I want to talk about why some of us didn't grow the way we desire this year. Why some of us did not grow the way we desire. We started out in January, and a lot of people start out the year with lofty expectations of what they would have achieved by December. And so, if you're listening to this right now, and you are not in the end of the year, you are in January of whatever year you are in, I want you to listen closely, because you are privileged to listen to this at the beginning of the year or the middle of the year, and then you can make some adjustments if you need to. A lot of them will be mental adjustments, some of them will be spiritual, some of them will be physical, but then you are also privileged to listen to this. So if you are listening to this at whatever time, do not feel, oh, this is not for me, this is talking about end of year stuff. No, it's actually for you. But if you are listening to this currently, as at the time when I'm recording this, which is December 2024, I also need to listen closely, because some of you need to go into the new year with a fixed mindset and making the necessary adjustments where you should, so that 2025 can be much better. Now, I want to talk about 3 reasons why the year did not go the way you desired. Why you did not grow at the rate you desired, or grow in the way you desired at the beginning of the year. 3 reasons, and these 3 reasons I will be taking from the Bible. I'm not saying these are the only reasons, but these are the reasons I feel led to share with someone today. And so if you find yourself in any of these 3 categories, this podcast was for you. The first reason, I kind of get it from the book of Genesis in the Bible. Genesis chapter 4. And this is a popular story in the Bible, story of Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel, 2 sons of Adam and Eve. Cain was the firstborn, Abel was the second. Cain went in the line of his father in terms of occupation. He was a farmer, and Abel was a shepherd. So for some reason, he just, he started out this new line. But it says Cain cultivated the earth just like Adam did. And this is, this is actually common in early cultures, where the father did one thing and the first son did exactly what the father did. But I'm not dwelling on that. It's a story about how Cain and Abel came and presented their harvest to God. And the Bible says that God accepted Abel's gift, but he did not accept the gift from Cain. Now, the verse that really strikes me there is verse 6, where Cain had gotten, was started sulking and looked dejected. And God told him, verse 6, "Why are you so angry?" The Lord asked Cain, "Why do you look so dejected?" Now, this way I want you to pay attention. You will be accepted if you do what is right. But if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at your door, eager to control you. But you must subdue it and be its master. Now, this is the verse I want to point out here. You see, this is one of the mysteries, first mysteries when you start reading the Bible. This is the first, this is one of the cryptic things. There are a lot of cryptic things in the Bible, but this is one of the cryptic things that we can never know. You understand? Till we meet God and He reveals it to us. We don't know what God rejected Cain's gift for. But Cain knew, and God knew. One of the first incognito things in the Bible between Cain and God. People have speculated over the years what it is, but nobody really knows. But God told him, you know what you ought to do. And if you did it, you'll be accepted. You know that this thing wasn't acceptable because you didn't do it. Another first category of people I want to talk to. The year didn't go the way you wanted. You didn't grow the way you desired. And I cannot tell you exactly why. The people around you cannot tell you exactly why. But you know. You know. So people around you are like encouraging you. They see you putting in all the work, all the effort, whether towards your business, towards your studies, towards something. They see you actually diligent. In their own eyes, you met all the obligations. You showed up. You worked hard. You understand? Didn't give up. You did everything right according to every other person on the outside. But on the inside, you know what you didn't do. You see, I talk to a lot of people and, they share stuff with me about, things that might not be going right. And I'm always very wary about the things they don't tell me. And I realize that a lot of people do not tell you everything. So a lot of times, the hard thing about the work I do when it comes to advising and mentoring and guiding people is I work with a lot of half stories. My wife is a medical doctor, and this is something, she experiences too. When she meets a patient and they come around and they talk about an ailment they have, a discomfort they have, they tell them, I've been coughing, I cough. This cough hasn't gone. And they talk about everything, but they don't talk about one bad habit. It might be smoking, cigarettes, smoking weed, whatever it is, drinking cold stuff. They just leave out something. And so the doctor is left confused. You are doing everything right, but there's one thing you haven't done. And they don't know that one thing. But they know. Those people on the inside, they know, on the very inside, they know. They know. They know what they did wrong. They know what they didn't do. And for you, God told you something between you and God, but you haven't done it. And that thing in itself is stopping you from having an acceptable year. That thing is stopping your business from being at where it should be by this time of the year. That thing you desired for the year is not manifesting because of that thing you've refused to do. That God is telling you, He has told you, it's clear, you should do it. But you didn't do it. You didn't do it out of stubbornness. You didn't do it out of fear. You didn't do it out of like a rugged addiction to it. You just didn't do it. Some of these things can be the smallest things. They might seem like they do not even connect with, what impact can this small thing have? God told you, give this thing to somebody. There's a book you're meant to give to somebody. You're like, why should I give it? They don't deserve it. God told you, since January, give this thing. Like, I'm not going to give it. Because you keep looking at the person that is meant to have it and you think of how undeserving they are. So you say, no, I'm giving it to them. That book, you know that is that book. That little 50-page book, that little 50-page book, that disobedience is stopping you from being accepted. It's stopping that year from being acceptable. Everything in the year just falls apart because there's a loose end of disobedience somewhere. You see, that happened to me too. And last year, I had one of those years too, you know. I was doing a lot online, doing a lot with the podcast, just trying, but then I just felt there was no traction. But you know, a year earlier, God had told me, start this physical engagement, this physical meeting with people. But I didn't. I kept on putting it off. How important can it be to meet with people physically? I don't have a venue. I don't have a this. I don't have a that. I didn't do it, but then I saw myself struggling in places where I shouldn't have been struggling. And God kept on telling me from the beginning of the year, He had told me, even towards the end of 2022, He had told me, 2023, you're going to spend a lot of time doing physical meetings. But I didn't do it. And I found myself in this place of serious discomfort with how the year was going and how the year was ending. A lot of struggles, financial struggles and things like that. But I knew within myself that I had not obeyed. Even my wife did not know till I told her. She just told her, you putting all this effort. Why are things not gelling? But I knew what God had told me to do. Some of you are like that. God has told you something, but you're not obedient. Something. You know it. Niggling on your mind. God is telling you, move out of that boyfriend's house. What I want to happen to you will not happen to you in your boyfriend's house while you're living with your boyfriend. Move out. Move out. Stop spending weekends at your girlfriend's place, or stop asking your girlfriend to come over for a weekend. Stop this weekend cohabitation. Stop it. It's holding back a lot. Stop it. Stop watching that TV program. Stop listening to that podcast. Stop listening. They're not saying anything that is going to help you. Stop it. You know. In your spirit, God has told you, you know. Nobody else is hearing it. You are the one hearing it. In fact, other people are listening to it and they are fine with it, but you are not fine with it. Your spirit has told you, stop it. Stop this betting on games, football games. Stop it. God has told you, don't bet on games anymore this year. Don't bet. You're like, what does that have to do with my business? What does that have to do? As long as I show up for my business, I'm diligent. I download courses. I improve my skill. What does betting have to do with it? Betting has a lot to do with it. Because I say, physical success a lot of times is inspired by spiritual permission. And some of you, you've heard spiritual instruction, but you've not obeyed. So there's no permission for physical success. Cain knew exactly what he was meant to do, but he didn't do it. He wasn't a victim. God wasn't unfair. God told him personally what he was meant to do. He knew what he was meant to do. So that's the first category of people. The second category of people who might feel at the end of the year, or at this point in the year didn't go the way they desired. No growth the way they desired. I want to talk to these people, and I got my inspiration from Matthew 25 and from verse 14. Now, this is a very popular parable. It's the parable of the talents. The parable of the talent. And the parable told by Jesus to his disciples. And in this parable, Jesus tells a story of a man, a wealthy man, who was about to go on a journey, and he had 3 servants. And to one, he gave 5 talents. Now, these talents could have been money or whatever it is, but there was something they could spend or exchange for money. To one, he gave 5, the other, he gave 2, and to the last one, he gave 1. And he said, the one that was given 1 talent felt very upset and cheated, very sidelined and maligned. And he was angry with the master. Why give me just 1? And you gave this person 2, and you gave this person 5. And he took the one and didn't do anything. He just dug a hole and just left it there. Left it, abandoned it, didn't use it. Spent the whole time sulking about the 1 talent he had. And when the master came back, all the servants came to give report of what they had done. And the one with 5 had made 5 more. The one with 2 had made 2 more. And the one with 1 said, well, you didn't give me anything good in the first place, so I didn't use it. So here is your 1 back. And the master was very upset with him. You see, some of you, the reason why your year hasn't gone the way you desired is because you looked at the beginning of the year and throughout the year of what you had with dissatisfaction. You spent the whole year in dissatisfaction and complaining and whining and comparing yourself to your mate. You compared yourself throughout the year to your mate. And because of that, you didn't do anything with what you had. You didn't do anything. You didn't grow because you didn't do anything. You despised what was with you, what you had. Like, what do I have anyway? Look at this person. They have a car already. Look at this person. Start the year, they have a house. This person has a husband. This person has a good job. This person has, and you kept on comparing yourself with other things people seem to have been blessed with. And like, what do I have? Nothing. There's this old sewing machine, this old equipment, this borrowed equipment, this outdated laptop. See, this person has up to spec this. This person has the latest version of this. In fact, they have 2 of it. This person has a delivery car. I don't even have anything. I don't even have a bike. So what should I do? I can't do anything. All I have is just this skill to do this thing, but nothing to run the skill on. That's the problem some of you have. You spent the year whining and comparing and saying, why should I start when life seems so unfair to me? Other people seem to have a very, very large head start. They're already advantaged. I'm already disadvantaged. So you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. You spent the year in self-pity. Self-pity. I wanted to go to Canada. I didn't get to go. But this person who is undeserving, immediately they went, they got their visa. It was very important for me to go for this course in Canada. It was in Canada that I wanted to start up this business. I wanted to go to school so I can learn more about this thing, but I didn't get to go, so I can't start. I'm not going to start because I didn't get to go to Canada. God, you didn't answer my prayer to get admission to the UK, so I can learn this thing that you are asking me to do and learn it and be professional at it. But since I couldn't go, then what do you want me to do? The people I'm competing with have international certificates. Why should I go? Why should I go and compete with them? They're already winning. They will get the contracts, they will get the awards, they will get the jobs. If you really wanted me to do it, then you should have allowed my visa to go through. You spend the whole year comparing yourself and whining and complaining. And now you're at the end of the year, you're sad and angry at God. Yes, I didn't get what I wanted, but it's God's fault. No, it's your fault. It's your fault. A lot of us don't understand. See, when we even read this parable, we expect that how we should have gone was the one with 5, get 5, made 5 back. The one with 2 made 2 back. So we kind of think the one with 1 would have made 1 back. But that's where we do not understand the person of God. A lot of us always forget that God is in the WWW business. The WWW business. I'm not talking about the World Wide Web. What God's WWW means is winning with weakness. Somebody here needs to remember, this is what you're going to get from this podcast. Remember that God is in the business, has always been in the business of winning with weakness. Not just winning with weakness. I would go all out to say wowing with weakness. God loves to see weak people. When he sees weak people, the first thing he sees are instruments. He loves when the odds are against him. I truly believe that if this parable had played out the way God works, that one person would have come back with 10. Not 1. God loves to confound us and our mathematics, our arithmetic progression. He loves to stomp it with his heavenly geometric progression. And I believe that's why the master was very angry with the person with 1. Because he saw more potential, not because he saw less. Sometimes we might feel disadvantaged, but God is saying, I want to make you a miracle. A miracle. You didn't have this, but then you were able to do what people that had sufficient could never do. I want people to come to you and say, who is your God? But then you were busy complaining about what you didn't have. I want people to come and think, Nigeria, somebody in Nigeria that doesn't have an international education, an international certificate, is the person occupying that position. How did they do it? I want people to come and ask you how. But you were complaining and you refused to do anything with what you had. God is in the business of winning with weakness. So many times in the Bible, he has done it. He waits for the thing to be weak, and then he shows up through the weak and despised. Where people say, can anything good come out of this thing? Nigeria, can anything come out of Nigeria? You are now in Nigeria. You are now in one obscure village. Not even in the major cities in Nigeria. And they're like, from there? That's where this person came from? Are you sure you have your facts right? Some of you would have had really awesome years if you just stopped comparing and complaining. Some of you complain too much, compare too much. And that's why your year hasn't gone the way it should. God had good things waiting for you at the end of the year if you just put that seed down. Put the seed in the ground. That's all you have here. Put it in the ground. It will shock you what could have come through it. Now, the third category of people whose year did not go the way they desired is inspired by the book of John. John chapter 3. And it's the story of Jesus and John the Baptist. It's a very interesting story. You see, Jesus had started his ministry, and at the same time, John was also still in ministry. Remember, John had started his ministry before Jesus. John was very successful in his ministry. It says multitudes came to him every day to be baptized. But when you read John chapter 3, it says here that in verse 22, Jesus and his disciples left Jerusalem and went into the Judean countryside. Jesus spent some time with them there, baptizing people. So here is Jesus going into the business, in quote, that John was doing. And it's recorded there that more people started going to Jesus to be baptized. More people left John and they were going to Jesus. And John's disciples came and said, that man, that small boy that you baptized, he has started competing with you. He's taking all your clients. It's like our business is getting smaller. He's getting bigger. And he's taking all of them. But John said something that blew my mind. John said something in verse 27, which someone here needs to listen to. John 3:27. He says, no one can receive anything unless God gives it from heaven. No one can receive anything unless God gives them from heaven. See, I have a great respect for John the Baptist as a character based on this very thing he said. He went on to say, he must increase and I must decrease. So I'm happy about his success. There's some people here listening, the year hasn't gone the way you desired. But I want you to understand that the year has gone the way heaven desires. The way God desires. Sometimes we are too bent on the rugged outcome that we want. But then we need to remember that we need to live a surrendered life. It's not about what we want, but what God wants. Sometimes success is getting smaller. John was highly successful even at this point in his life because he realized what heaven wanted. And he was doing what heaven wanted. He was surrendered to what heaven wanted. Some of you think the year hasn't been the way you desired. So God has been bad to you. No. Things have gone exactly the way heaven wants. God has given you what heaven wanted to give you this year. What you actually need is spiritual contentment. You need to say, God, you are in charge. This is how much I projected. This is the level of growth I projected. But it's not what I want, but what you want. And I thank you because of this thing that is heaven's allocation to me at this point. Even though this person that is younger than me that started, this person that I even thought seems to be bigger. But God, I'm surrendered to your order. Contentment and gratitude. The year hasn't been bad, the year has been good. For some of you, the year has been good because you surrendered to heaven's order. Heaven's order of things. I think sometimes we get too much into motivational speaker mode. And that's the problem I have with motivational speaking. When people call me motivational speaker, I don't like it. Because I feel motivational speakers always feel a need to ginger you with some things. No, I don't like to put myself in that category. They overstate some things. Sometimes some rhetorics are just ridiculous and they put people under more pressure. This fallacy that things are meant to get stronger and stronger, you're meant to get stronger and stronger and bigger, is not always true. It's not always true. Some things will diminish in life. Your strength will diminish in life. Your earning power will diminish. Sometimes will diminish. Some people won't. And that's where I did a podcast on frailty, functional frailties. I think some of you should take time to listen to it. That you can't do some of the things you did last year is not a curse. You are older. It's not a curse. That you can't run as fast as you used to run is not a curse. That the business is actually winding down is not a curse. It's the beginning of something new. Something new, a new phase of life. That you don't have as many followers as you used to have is not a curse. This growing stronger and stronger is a burden that some of us carry. I must increase, I must increase, I must increase, I must increase. We declare it. But sometimes there's a heavenly order that says get smaller. Most people get smaller before the end. John got smaller, had less disciples. In the end, had none. Jesus got smaller. In the end, when he was arrested, nobody was with him. This is a man that had multitudes going with him. When he was arrested, nobody, not one person was with him. But you see, the heavenly order always has heavenly reward. I believe John was incredibly rewarded and is incredibly rewarded, just like Jesus was incredibly rewarded. Sometimes we are too fixated on physical things. Physical things will diminish. They will. Some people will have anomalous achievements. I talked about it in that podcast. I really advise that you listen to it. It's called Functional Frailties: Why Every Miracle is Not Yours to Claim. Listen to it. Some of you are doing well by heaven's standard, not by earthly standard. People around you might say, this thing is getting smaller. Your business is getting smaller. You know, this is not what you earned last year now. It has gone down by like 20%, 40%. But heaven is happy. And you know what happens when you align with heaven's order? You have peace. You have peace and you have joy. John was happy for Jesus. He said, I have joy about his success. Even though his disciples didn't understand, John had peace. The year has gone well for you. You just need God to open your eyes to tell you, this is exactly where I want you to be. Next year, things could change again. Heaven's order could say, you know what, pick up things again. But we must be content with God's final say. God's say. So you're in this category. It's not like if God has told you something. God told you something, you did it. Told you not to do something, you didn't do it. He gave you the one talent, you put it down, you did it as you were meant to do. Do you understand? Now you leave the results to him. And in leaving the results to him, you allow him to fill you with contentment and gratitude and peace. So if you're listening to this today, the year hasn't gone the way you desired. Has God told you something that you haven't done? Has God told you something you should stop doing that you're still doing? God says, if you do what is right, would you not be accepted? Second set of people, has God given you something to put in the ground? And you're looking at it and you're like, this is too small. Look at what this person has. You compare and you complain, and that's what you've done all year. You have another opportunity. You're going into a new year. It's time to put it down. See the still valuable. See the still valuable. Put it down. Stop complaining. Stop comparing. Remember, winning with weakness. That is God's modus operandi. And are you here today? You've done it. The numbers do not add up. What you've done here with God. I want you to know that heaven is proud of you. And that's the most important thing. And heaven will reward you with peace and with joy. And that's the true reward. That is the ultimate true reward. Peace, joy. And that comes through contentment and through gratitude. Stop looking at the physical indices and start saying, God, thank you for what you've given me. This thing you've given me, make it enough. Make it beautiful. Let it be aligned with heaven's order. My name is Tola, T.A. Alabi, and you've been listening to my podcast, ProUp Masterclass.